that unpopular 20-mile-an-hour limit in built-up areas in Wales will remain. There was a bid to defeat it. It was rejected in the Welsh Parliament. A bid to overturn it by the Conservatives was rejected with the belief the policy is helping improve road safety. Well, you could follow that logic and just ban cars, I guess. Wales, of course, became the first country in the UK to reduce the default speed limit from 30 to 20 last year. Let's speak to Joel Williams, who's a Conservative councillor in Cardiff. Joel, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ian. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure. It's almost an obsession. It's like a religion, isn't it? There's, everyone's hooked onto this 20-mile-an-hour thing, and then they throw in some very sort of seductive reasoning behind it. Well, children will be safer, as if any of us want children to be unsafe. And then apparently, according to those that love the 20-mile-an-hour limit, that's it, job done.
So, Ian, 470,000 people in Wales signed the petition against default 20 mile per hour, and Labour politicians supported by Plaid Cymru have just ignored the will of the people. And people in Wales are asking themselves, why is it that the Labour Party hates motorists so much? It's an absolute disgrace. It's going to cost our economy billions of pounds in the coming decades. I'm pleased the Conservatives brought forward this important debate. Labour politicians emptied the chamber whilst Conservatives were campaigning to have this policy scrapped, which tells you all you need to know. They hold us in total and utter contempt, and unfortunately it's set to continue, because in Wales we're now faced with congestion charges and road tolls. Why is it that they hate the motorists so much?
What is it about? I mean, what they've done, and I alluded to it, Joel, a second ago there with the child safety thing. They always invoke a child, don't they, in these kind of debates? It's always that, and I understand. Obviously we all want to be safe, and the other one is the environment, because they will argue that actually, we're saving the planet. So if you disagree with any of that, you're clearly a wrong-un and have no right to the same oxygen, according to some of these guys.
Well, look, Ian, I tell you what is who wrong-uns are, in my view, are child sex offenders who Labour politicians want to give the vote to. Those people are the wrong-uns in my eyes, not law-abiding motorists who want to drive at 30 miles an hour on a main road to get home and to and from work. Look, it's an absolute disgrace. It's set to continue under Labour. Why is it that they want to take more and more control off individuals and put it in the hands of the state? It's absolutely wrong. I'm pleased that people are beginning to wake up, but the only way we're going to change things is by voting these people out, and we've got a chance to do that in the next Senedd elections in May 2026.
So it's got to wait for just over a year then, or a year and a half for that to happen, Joel. In the meantime, the 20-mile-an-hour thing, the national kind of rollout there was a moment where they paused or reversed something, wasn't there?
Well, I think that's just called handing these baubles out. It didn't actually materialise. It hasn't really changed anything. And, we need to be clear that the Labour Party are not on the side of motorists. They're not on the side of working people. And we want to change that. And that is why we campaign to scrap this blanket speed limit.
Is this a campaign that will be kept up, Joel, in any meaningful way, given that the government and the opposition of the day are singing from the same hymn sheet here?
Look, Ian, I believe that as a politician, you've got to be open with the public. You've got to say what you think, and you've got to demonstrate why you think it. We are against blanket default 20 mile per hour speed limits in Wales. We're going to keep on banging the drum against that. We're going to campaign to have it scrapped. We've got the people of Wales on our side on this campaign. We'll continue to be their voice in the Senedd, not standing up for Labour policies, which we know are just disastrous.
Indeed. Joel, thank you, sir. Really appreciate that.
Ian, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Joel Williams, Conservative councillor in Cardiff. And the bit that bothers me about that is that if you were to say, well, if we have it at 20, the old ad, if you're hit by a car at 20, this happens. If you're hit by a car at 30, that happens. Well, it's oddly, it's a meaningless argument, because you would simply extend that and get it down to 10 miles an hour or no miles an hour and just ban cars. And some of the people that are agitating for this, and they're often sort of metropolitan types who live in cities where you might just about be able to get by without a car. It completely, and they believe that sort of the rest of the world is behind their thinking, and it's all marred, and there's a fog around their thinking because they're just looking at their own environment of a big city. Well, we've got trains and buses, and you can do it quite easily. Well, even that you can't always do easily if you've got your shopping with you. It's really not always easy, and your kids with you. And by the way, why are we apologising for the car? I mean, the thing that gave most social mobility probably more than any one single invention in the last God knows how many decades, freed up the common man to be able to travel. And that travel, of course, included being able to expand your own life beyond the little place you were brought up in, to take you elsewhere, to work elsewhere, to meet other people elsewhere. I was thinking this when I was walking the dog the other day down my road, which happens to be a 20-mile-an-hour limit. It's a bit... It's a slight... It's not... No, there's a bit of a long straight in it where it's a bit odd that it's 20. And most people who go down it don't think it's 20. And you can come into that road from different side roads where you wouldn't actually know it was 20. So I don't know how anybody would nick you for doing 20 if you came from, you know, certain junctions. You go, well, there was no sign to say it was a 20. There's a sign one end, a sign the other end. But there's a couple of ways of getting in that place before that. Nonetheless, as I was walking the dog, I was just thinking about cars and how curious it is that, you know, people who live in London or Cardiff or wherever, Manchester, Edinburgh, who wax lyrical about, you know, essentially getting rid of the car. And you talk to people like Donica, what's his name? Donica McCarthy, yeah, who Julia had on earlier, we had on last week. I mean, these people literally would like to ban the car. They don't want cars. They don't want that. The greatest innovation. They're not interested in cars. They want to get rid of them. And they always throw out the stats about road safety and all the like. Again, you could extend that into all sorts of areas of life. There's lots of things you could ban. And everybody would be tip-top and say, we could ban cookers, couldn't we? And then nobody would ever burn themselves. That'd be a good start. Maybe we could do that. Just make microwaves and air fryers compulsory. But nothing with a flame or a hot hob. It's a stupid way of thinking. It's a massive sort of red herring. But cars, yeah, the freedom of the individual. And that's the point, isn't it? When I hear politicians talk about it, it's the idea that some blokes in grey suits and women in grey suits have decided how your life can run. We are going to stop you having a cigarette in the pub garden. We're going to curtail how much the pub can charge for your beer. We're going to ban packets of crisps. You know, this kind of thinking. And we're going to stop you using your car. Wow, this is progress, the 21st century.